Hey, good evening, everyone. My name's Caswell Cook, and welcome to Caswell Tonight, or whatever we're calling this show lately. We were the Caswell Cook Show for years, and then we were defunct, and then we came back as the Caswell Cook Show and had a couple of great interviews, and then COVID-19 happened, and we became Ask Caswell, and now we're just Caswell Tonight, because Lieutenant Governor McKee took Ask Caswell and made Ask Dan, so he's on Wednesday night, so I had to change the name of my show to Caswell Tonight. Plus, I always wanted to be a late night talk show host a few hours early. But I want to thank all of our guests that we've had on the show leading up to today. And the ones we have coming up next week are pretty amazing. We have Susan Caswell from the Caswells on Monday. We have three-time Grammy winner Peter Asher, who discovered James Taylor, ran the Beatles Apple record label, was one half of the duo Peter and Gordon, lots of hits. And his sister was engaged to Paul McCartney, which is pretty cool. And Peter Asher currently is on Sirius XM on the Beatles channel with his show From Me to You. So that's going to be a great interview next week. And I also want to thank my guest from last night, Rodney Justo from the band Atlanta Rhythm Section. Lots of hits those guys had. And that show was so well received, especially through his Facebook fan page. And we had so many great comments, and thousands of people saw the show last night and in the replays since last night. So it's really cool. But listen, my guest tonight is standing by from her car. She's a reporter for NBC Channel 10, and we're going to bring her right on because she's between stories right now. And we want to talk to, we've never had a reporter come on the show and talk to us about the news. So please bring on my guest tonight, Danielle.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Caswell. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
You got it. There you are, Danielle Kennedy, NBC 10. Now, you're in your car.
I'm in my car. I can show you around. It's not really very big. But, in my passenger seat here, I have my editing laptop, bringing some video in as we speak. Always have to be working. And I'm on my writing laptop right now where I write my stories. And yeah, it's a little cramped, but it's all good.
It's almost like the way the police are now. They got the computer right next to them when they're writing out tickets and stuff like that, doing background checks, things like that. So what stories are you working on for the news tonight?
Tonight is an exciting night. I was at the State House, which felt good to be back at the State House. It was a little weird. Everybody, well, the few people that were there, we were all wearing masks, social distancing. You know, the reporters, their chairs were 6 feet apart, which was a little bit weird, but we all got through it. Tonight was the first meeting of the COVID-19 task force. So some lawmakers, joint task force from the House and Senate meeting to go over literally line by line of how the governor intends to spend that $1.25 billion in federal funding. So it was a long night, lots of meetings. And then afterwards, the two co-chairs came down and we did some interviews with them. And that's about it. So I'm putting that together for the 10 and 11 tonight.
So what's your day look like normally? Like, okay, forget COVID, but like a normal day for a person like you. Like, when do you go to work, and like what news, what times are you on the news? Are you on in the morning? Are you on in the afternoon, the evening? What are you on?
Well, for most reporters, and I don't want to speak for everyone, but I think most of us would agree that we are always working. You know, we're always taking phone calls, we're always answering emails. You know, people are calling you or asking you for help at all times of the day. So, but on a normal day, I work the night shift. So for me, that's 3:45 till about 11:45. And honestly, the coolest part of this job is that every single day is different. You know, some days we're in Westerly, some days we're in Newport, some days we're in Providence. You know, we're all over. But a typical day looks like we have before COVID, we'd go to our building and all meet together. 3:45 meeting, you know, make some calls, get some story ideas going, and just get out the door and do your interviews. Some days I'm on at 5 and 6 and 7 and 10 and 11. Some days I'm just on at 10 and 11. You know, it really depends on what we need. So I love that. Every day is like a totally new adventure, which is really neat.
How long have you been with NBC 10?
This summer will be 3 years with NBC 10, which my photographer and I were just talking about how crazy fast time goes by. You know, like it feels like I just started here yesterday.
So, so where'd you go to school? Or where'd you grow up, and then where'd you go to college? I guess are my next two questions.
Sure. So I'm a New Yorker, born and raised.
New Yorker?
New Yorker.
What part of New York?
Just north of New York City. Oh. So, you know, the tomatoes and the potatoes and all that other good stuff, you know, came from a big Italian Irish family. and love them. All of my family still lives in New York. My younger sister lives out of the state because she's doing big things. So I went to college at SUNY Oneonta. It's a state school in New York, about an hour southwest, of Albany, and did 4 years there. Ran cross country, track, did the TV thing. That's how I kind of realized this was a neat job to get into. And then I went to Syracuse University to do my master's, which was a 1-year program at the Newhouse School. And after I graduated from Newhouse, I worked in DC for a little bit on Capitol Hill, covered President Obama in the White House once, which was really neat. And then after a few months in DC doing internships, I moved to South Bend, Indiana, worked for the CBS affiliate there, WSBT, which was awesome. Some of my closest friends are there, loved everything about that, but missed home and wanted to come back to the East Coast. So my fiance got a job opportunity out here, so it was great. So we relocated to Providence, and I love it. I love every second of it.
And you applied for the job, obviously, at NBC 10 and got it.
Yep, and I got it. It worked for the same company, so worked for Sinclair. My last station was with Sinclair, and when I actually was supposed to come out here to see my fiance, and I had reached out to my boss, hey, is there, do you have any openings? And next thing I knew, I was on a plane moving out here. So things happen so quickly, but it's really exciting.
So tell me, first of all, the COVID thing has messed up your personal life, because weren't you supposed to get married?
Yes. My fiance and I were supposed to get married on April 17th. And, obviously I mentioned I'm from New York. So we had a family coming from out of town, and his family, he was born and raised in Lincoln, Nebraska, so Midwest. And a lot of his family lives in the Midwest. But because he's in the military, and because I'm in news, we've worked in so many different states and places. We had people coming from 27 different states.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So health and safety was a huge issue for us, all the people that had to travel. And we were supposed to get married at St. Mary's Church in Newport. And then the reception was also supposed to be in Newport. And our priest was awesome. He was still willing to marry us. Despite everything going on, it would just be, me and Sam and a witness, but we wanted our family there, our parents, our aunts, our uncles. So we decided to postpone things until September. So fingers crossed for September now.
Yeah, I know. Really? I mean, with what the governor came out with yesterday, with July and August, none of our events can happen, and weddings can't have more than 50 people and stuff like that. So that's going to be crazy. You weren't quite ready to live stream your wedding, though, were you?
No, we weren't ready to live stream our wedding. I mean, we thought about all different ways that we could do it. Do we move to 2021 and just have, there are so many different factors. And obviously the one thing that, you want to get married. And, but when we thought about it, of all the other things going on in the world, we would watch the news every night, and just hearing of all these people that were sick and dying, and, we were like, health and safety, A, has to come first. And B, we just have to put this on the back burner, be thankful that we're healthy, and make our decision and kind of, move on. So that's
you were sick. Now, you thought you had COVID, right? Or did you?
I tested negative for COVID, but I was pretty down and out for like it was about 2.5 weeks. I was really, really sick, and, I tested negative, and I don't know what I had, but fever, chills, body aches, not able to get out of bed. I'm a marathon runner, and I ran the Chicago Marathon with mono, for crying out loud. And I ran the Boston Marathon with hypothermia. And last year I had the flu and finished the Boston Marathon. I'm usually not a person who's down and out, and whatever I had, I was down and out, but feeling a lot better now. The last week, really starting to feel like myself again, which is awesome.
So tell us, I'm glad you're feeling better. Tell us about, like, from your point of view, because you've been covering this every day since COVID happened. Bring us up to date on, what's the latest? You're obviously reporting it every day. You hear the governor's press conferences, but people are confused out there. Like, restaurants aren't quite sure if they're supposed to be able to open on May 8th, the people at my beach are saying, can we have patio service? She mentioned that might be the first thing she opened up. I mean, what do you know from your reporting that you can tell us to maybe clarify some of this stuff about when we're opening things?
Well, I should just preface by saying Brian Crandall, our reporter, he's covering the governor every day. So have to give a plug to Brian because
And he's from Westerly.
He's a Westerly boy, yes, born and raised. And Brian does an amazing job covering Governor Raimondo every day. So Brian is probably the best person to answer that question. But my understanding is we still don't know a lot of those things. And as the governor has said, I think she still has to lay out some of those plans. But as of right now, we just know the 3 phases, that there'll be phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. But I think, and at least my understanding is that these businesses are working, directly with the state, the Commerce Corporation, kind of trying to come up with some of their guidelines. But I mean, I was talking to, the president of Discover Newport yesterday. And, we were just talking about how anxious people are to get back to work. And even they don't know. I mean, he was telling me that the president, Evan Smith, who's such a great guy, he was telling me, Danielle, we don't even know if our hotels can open by Memorial Day. So people just don't know. And I don't mean to avoid your question, but some of the specifics we're all still waiting on. And, like
Danielle, don't worry. This isn't a hard news show.
Good. But I mean, I'm sure like a lot of people in Westerly too are like, can I book out of state reservations? Like if New Yorkers are I mean, I'm wondering, when can my parents come visit me again? And I'm wondering, when can I go home and see my family and not
without having to quarantine,
without having to do a 2-week quarantine? So a lot of us, in our personal and even professional lives are just wondering, what's going to happen. Tonight, we got a lot of, the thing I can tell you best is the money, because we just talked about that last, 10, 20 minutes ago when we left this meeting, where the state looks like with spending. But as far as some of the plans, I'm still not 100% sure of either, like many of you.
Danielle said before we went on, she's like, what are you going to ask me? And I'm like, I don't know. It's a conversation. And I was saying before, it's got to be hard for a reporter like yourself, because you can detect BS when it comes your way, when you're reporting and when you're trying to get something. What do you do to get like the truth out of people, or to get them to say what you really are after them to say without sort of beating around the bush? I'm talking about when you're doing like a hard news story, not like a fluff piece or something. What's your tactic?
Right. Well, I think looking tonight in this meeting, a lot of the reporters, we all asked the same question, but none of us really got the answer that we were going for. So just ask it again, and I think that's the best strategy. You ask it again, and one of the things that one of my managers, who I love, he always says, talk into the microphone when you ask the question, so that the people, when you air that story, they can hear you asking that question, accountability. And then you can use that answer. But I think what happened a half hour ago in that meeting room with some lawmakers is a great example. We all just kept asking the same question, and, eventually we got the answer. So I think that's what it is. You just keep going at it until you get it.
Persistence. Well, I'm a politician, but I also have done like radio and TV and stuff in the past. And what I love is when these politicians, and I'm not casting any dispersions, but you ask them a question and they always start, well, I've been in conversation with the governor's office and the Department of Health, and they just list the people that like they've been on a phone call with, as if that's an answer to your question. And I'm like, come on, man, knock it off. Like, just be straight talk. The best person I ever interviewed in my entire life was John McCain when he was running for president, because he was just that straight talk guy. And, you'd ask him, hey, you're running for office. This was back in 2000, the first time I interviewed him. I'm like, you're running against George Bush. He's got $100 million. You've got $2 million. Like, what's up with that? And he's like, well, it's always darkest before it's totally black. I mean, but he just didn't beat around the bush with stuff. And he would tell you straight out. And So it's
honestly.
very hard to find. Yeah, it's hard to find those kind of politicians out there. The lieutenant governor is one of them. He's the guy. He's a straight talk guy, Dan McKee. So you find them out there. But so what's the of all the stories that you've done since I know you've got to get going in a couple minutes here. Of all the stories you've done in the last 3 years, what are a couple of highlights? What are some of the fun ones for you that you've covered? Besides, of course, coming to Musqueamicut Beach and covering trash.
Holy cow! That one came out of nowhere.
Boom, boom.
Oh my goodness. Some of my favorite stories. No, I have to think about this for a second.
Yeah, not like death and murder and stuff. We don't, that happens and it's terrible.
Right.
But, there's got to be something fun, like, baby born and, I don't know, miracle
I'm trying to
baby.
think of my good, what was a great story that I did? I really liked this one. Was the little girl from Westerly who was trying to collect all of the LOL dolls. Do you remember that?
Yep.
At Hasbro for Christmas. I loved that story. Goodnight Lights is always a tearjerker for me whenever we do Goodnight Lights. I'm trying to think of some other ones that I've done that I really liked that were good news stories.
Ladies and gentlemen, I stumped the reporter.
You stumped me. You know what? It's so hard though. I think, at least for me, and I'm going to be completely honest here, you go every day, you want to wash the bad stuff out of your mind. So you have to kind of be able to go home after those bad nights, whether you saw something bad or, you're at a bad scene and you had to tell that story, you have to kind of wash it out of your mind. So it's hard to not wash everything some days. We all go home and we take off our coat and put down our briefcase and it's like the day is over. So for me, it's sometimes hard to remember, but I keep a log at home.
How old are you? You have a briefcase? They still make those?
I have mine in the back seat. I put my laptop in it and everything. Old school. Got to go old school. So yeah, but Sam Reed's telling some really cool good news stories right now. Like the best job, especially during all this bad stuff, to tell good news stories, and those are the best to tell. Unfortunately, working nights, I don't always get those opportunities because it's just the way that news works.
Right.
Good things don't always happen at, midnight. Sometimes they do, but that's, sometimes that challenge of that shift.
I always say nothing good really happens at 3 a.m. It's not a good time of the night unless you're working third shift. So I know you got to go. So final question.
Yes.
Tell us about, during this whole COVID-19 situation, how has reporting or interviewing people changed, and how much are you using phones to do interviews and things like that?
100%. It's 90%, video chats. And honestly, the people who we've been working with and we're interviewing, so many people have been so responsive. Sure, we can FaceTime. Sure, we can Zoom. I like it. I like the accessibility of not having to, drive an hour to meet you and worry about, me not getting there in time before your next meeting. We can just pull up on a Zoom call. That's been really interesting. We also have these large, it's like a large pole that you can put your microphone on the end so that we can maintain distance if we're doing in-person interviews. The biggest thing for me, I think, that I've noticed is on a personal note, just a way we interact. Yesterday, I met up with Evan Smith and I went to go shake his hand. Like it was just second nature, hey, how are you? Good to see you. And we both laughed like, oh, we're not even getting close.
Can't do that. Yeah.
These days. So on an interpersonal level, it's been really different, but people have been really accessible through video chat and things like that. Wearing a mask is different, when you're somewhere standing 6 feet away, that's been different. But as far as the day-to-day goes of telling stories, I think that's the same. And, luckily that hasn't changed too much.
Well, Danielle, thank you for taking the time in the midst of covering the State House
and
getting ready to go back on the air and do all the stuff you do. But thanks for taking the time being on our show, and I'm sure we will see you on the news, and I'm sure that you and I will cross paths with some story.
I'm sure I'll have to interview you soon, Caswell. We'll have to turn the tables again. No, thank you for having me, and I'm really appreciative. A lot of times, people watch us on TV and, or they see us on the news, or, we do a news story that's not great and they change the channel. I mean, we all have those moments, but I feel like it's just thank you for the opportunity to be able for folks to learn a little bit more about me, because just like you, everybody else, we're out here in the community, living our lives, normal people. And I'm just really grateful for the opportunity to be able to talk to you. It would have been nice if we were in the same studio, not through a screen,
Right.
but one day we'll get back to that place, hopefully. And hopefully
That's right.
soon.
Well, Danielle Kennedy, thank you so much. We'll see you later. Go back
Thanks,
to work.
Caswell. Thanks everybody for watching. I appreciate it. Have a good night, Caswell. I'll talk to you soon.
You too. Bye-bye. All right, that was Danielle Kennedy from Channel 10. Jesus, my hair is just terrible. What are you going to do? Who cares? So hey, she's on the move. She's reporting in Providence. She's all over the state, and it's interesting to catch up with people that are actually reporting the news. I think maybe you don't. You might have tuned out by now, but I think she's a great and interesting guest. The thing to know is, what is it like to cover news stories during COVID-19? I mean, I know we did a news story with I think it was Channel 10 last week, and the producer's like, will you? What can we do a Zoom chat? And I mean, I just came down here, used my tripod, and we did the news story, and it was like, wow, they didn't have to send somebody to Westerly to do the interview. It was really cool. I mean, obviously the quality is probably not as good as in person, and I think you can probably get more out of people in person than you can doing this kind of chat. But I tell you what, it's really interesting to see how it works, and it's great to talk to reporters. I've always been always wished at sometimes that I went into that line of work. I almost did. I think I did a show on ABC in Providence, like around 2002, and it was a show called On the Road, and we did 2 pilot episodes, and I really had a great time. And then I was also running for town council, and the person that worked there said, well, Caswell, you're running for town council, you can't be a reporter on the news because it's like a conflict thing. I'm like, really? Just running for town council in Westerly? And they said, well, you're going to have to pick which one you want to do. So I picked running for town council. Yeah. And here I am all these years later. But it's fun to do this. And so, yes, we have some great guests coming up next week. This is a short show tonight, which is fine. You don't need to see me all the time. This next week, just you got to tune in. Because we're not going to, we do Monday through Thursday now. So we're not here Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're doing 4 nights a week instead of 7. Because, I mean, there's only so much I can do. But next week, Susan Cowsill from the Cowsills, the songs, Hair, The Rain, the Park, and Other Things, Indian Lake, good songs. Plus all her solo catalog is amazing. And then the legendary Peter Asher. I can't say enough about him. This is the guy that produced James Taylor and discovered James Taylor and worked for the Beatles for Apple Records. This is the guy, yeah, Roger, that's it. This is the guy who some businesses can open with restrictions. That's awesome. Restaurants, no dining in, but outside dining, no bar seating, salons, museums. That's good. We're on our way. So yeah, tune in next week. Peter Asher, unbelievable. Plus, he's the host of the Beatles show From Me to You on Sirius XM. And then we're going to have next Thursday night Gary Puckett from Gary Puckett and the Union Gap. He has a lot of great hits, Woman, Woman. One of Young Girl, Get Out of My Mind. That's Gary Puckett, and he's going to join us. And I'm going to try to get him to sing a song because I've seen him on Facebook doing songs and stuff, which is cool. I'm not sure what that was. Anyway, Ben, come on, Ben. Come on the show for a minute.
Hey.
So what have you been up to with all these shows? Tell us your shows. What's the lineup?
Oh, man.
A lot of food for thought.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, we're doing 9 shows a week for the church. Again, you put me on the show when I'm not expecting to be on the show. So, like, I have my light on, but I don't have my headphone. You're a bad person.
It says on the side of the screen, you're in the show. Everyone can see and hear you.
It doesn't say that on my screen. I'm producing the show.
Be ready.
You
know that Imus used to always bring his producer on.
I have to say, Karen, you do this all the time. Is this a good thing? Do you like me? The ... is confusing. Hi, Ben, ... Like, are you annoyed when I show up? It's totally fine.
Well, the reason why I
Ben, you
wanted
need a
you to be-
headset. Yeah. All right. Hold on.
Shh, shh. Hang on, so we don't have the echo. Just hang on a second.
All right. Hey.
So what I I can't talk. So what I would love people to do in the comments below is I just finished watching 6 seasons on Netflix of the 100, and I like those kind of post-apocalyptic type shows. But can you guys suggest movies or a series on Netflix or Amazon that I should watch? I mean, I don't like a lot of gory murder. I like shoot 'em up action. And I like post-apocalyptic stuff. So tell me, like, what I should watch. Can you offer me some suggestions? Anyone. Anyway,
Sure.
Ben, the reason why I wanted you to come on is
Yeah.
I wanted you to put up your graphic, and I wanted to talk about what your new business venture is in light of the governor's announcement that there are no outdoor events that are large gatherings right now through August, which
Sure.
means that today we've heard Summer Pops is canceled or postponed. We've heard the Washington County Fair is postponed or canceled, rather.
It's the wrong
Charlestown
thing.
Seafood Festival is canceled. Tunes on the Dunes is going to have to be canceled, although we haven't announced it officially, but obviously we can't do it. So you have a way to offer a consolation prize, shall we say. And the
Sure.
Washington County Fair has already taken you up on it. Tell us what you're doing for people.
It's not we have more meetings and stuff, but
But I mean, people are interested.
yes. So basically, what we did with the Musqueam Music Festival, we can do all the time, for anybody, it's, so something like the Washington County Fair, like we're talking about, obviously they have, music acts. You can't go there and you can't be in person, but, you can have music acts, live stream the same way that we had John Cafferty and, I'm sorry, not John Cafferty, John Ford Coley and John Batdorf and Al Copley, and all of the musicians, all the local musicians that we had. And we can do segments with like the 4-H people. Like you can, if you were a vendor, and your festival has vendors and stuff, we can show highlight videos for them. We can have people do contests and prizes and all of that sort of thing, for the festival. So, for the things that unfortunately aren't going to be able to happen traditionally the way that they normally would. Thank you, by the way, Karen. I see your comment. Because things can't happen the way that they normally would, we are going to be able to integrate those things using the same technology that we used for the Musqueam Festival, and yeah, so we have a couple festivals that we've talked to today, parades that aren't going to be happening that we talked to today. Some things are choruses, for example. There's just no way to live stream 200 people singing, unfortunately, at the same time, and make it sound right.
Have you seen those packages that Chris
Exactly.
Walsh has made?
Yeah, you can do them separately. You can have everybody come in and do it separately. And if the chorus is interested in something like that, of course, we would want to. I love Ryan and Andrew and everybody at the chorus, and the chorus as an organization. So anybody that had their big event, their big thing canceled, anybody that had anything canceled,
you can stream it.
We can help. It's going to look different. And all of that is a unique conversation that's going to be unique to everything. If something like the seafood festival, can't happen, obviously, then maybe we have the cooks do videos highlighting their food, and we integrate that with music and stuff. So
I already told Heather in Charlestown that I would volunteer to eat a lobster live on a stream.
There you go. So yeah, I mean that's what we're That's what we're doing, and we're throwing stuff out for I don't want to name the places that we've been in contact with necessarily, but anybody, if you know anybody, if there's anything, I think Caswell, we might try to make Tunes on the Dunes happen virtually. I feel comfortable saying that because it's you. So so yeah, that's what we're doing. We're just trying to help everybody right now, the
Yeah.
best that we can.
No, that's
So
great. That's good stuff. Well,
yeah,
cool. Thank you
thanks.
for doing the plug, because this show is brought to you by Ben Barber's D&B Media Virtual Streaming.
Yeah, virtual streaming. That was a new. Nobody. I didn't know that was coming, but yeah,
I help.
cool. You
I
do.
try. Now
You
I got to
do.
start. I got to start playing my videos for real estate on this show. My boss Dan at Berkshire Hathaway said, "You never tell people that you're a real estate agent, and you never tell people that you have properties for sale." And Chris Walsh made me a beautiful video for one of the properties I have in Musquamacut on the beach. So maybe tomorrow night we'll show that video, and I'll start talking real estate. But I do have places for sale. We have businesses for sale. We're selling the Dusties of Weekapaug business down by the Weekapaug Bridge. If you're interested in a turnkey business, we're selling the owner is selling the business and the equipment turnkey. So let me know. I have a house on Atlantic for sale that's right on the beach, right down near the Pleasant View, ocean front. And Sandy's Lighthouse is for sale if you're looking to have a nice business at the beach. So I'm finally plugging my own real estate business here. And if you are looking to sell something, whether it's a business or a house, text me, call me.
Absolutely. Buy or sell, call Caswell. Isn't that your
Yeah,
slogan?
it's either that or one call gets it all.
Sure. I like the other one. So here's what we're gonna do. I was gonna play a video for you so that we ended the night with
Oh
music
yeah,
like
yeah, we
always.
like that.
Yeah, but I'm gonna throw in a plug for something that definitely doesn't need a plug for us. But I'm gonna end this because I knew Danielle Kennedy was getting off early and she was wonderful. But I knew that we only had 20 minutes
Excuse
with
me?
her. I knew that we were
Excuse me?
I know that we only had 20 minutes with her, you
Excuse
jerk.
me, what did you say?
I knew that she was leaving early. And Parks and Rec is having a reunion special right now live on NBC. So I'm getting off of here because I promised the rest of the house that I would go watch that. So I'm leaving, but we're gonna, if you can't be with the one you love, what should you do, Caswell?
Love the one you're with. Good night, everybody. Good night, Mom. See you Monday. You can go now. Bye-bye.
Yes, do.